Welcome to the Built Right Contractor podcast, where we talk about business systems, growth strategies, and different things that you can do to make sure that your business is set up to succeed and set up to scale. My name's Brad Akers. Let's get into it. Welcome to the third episode of the Built Right podcast, where we help you get your roofing business running right. Today we have Andrew, who has been a friend, a client, and he's now one of the coaches in the Built Right program. And I wanted him to be here because I think he's going to offer a fresh perspective. If you've listened to the other episodes, the first one was with Jose. I didn't really give him any heads up as to what we're talking about, and I didn't really give Andrew much of a heads up either. And that's on purpose because I want you to hear a real version of these answers, not some scripted version of what works and what doesn't. This podcast being built right, all this stuff, it has nothing to do with what you want to hear. It's about what reality is. We want to make sure that we're doing the right things to grow the roofing businesses that y'all are running. And today we're going to talk about leads and understanding the leads and like how to generate them, what to like, where to focus, when to focus, and also how to know what you can realistically invest time, energy, and money wise into marketing. So before we like dive in, Andrew, why don't you give a little bit of an introduction as to who you are, your company, and some of that fun stuff. And then even your other ventures that you've done, just so they can have that perspective.
So I don't have a Bugatti. I'll start out there. No, we
Bugatti
yeah, so I don't have a Bugatti. No, I am Andrew Baldwin. I am from Alabama. We operate in a few different states in roofing, but my background is all over the place. I grew up in construction on the hardware side of things, so that was a great upbringing, I would say, for this business. I went to Auburn for a little bit. I also went to South Alabama. I got an accounting degree because my pops didn't want me to have to work hard like him. Guess what I did for a little while, but did all that fun jazz, hated accounting. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So I got in the gym business for a little while, did well there, mostly in supplements, but the gym was fine. And then I got into roofing. I actually stumbled into roofing because I wanted to get back into construction, and I had some, this will relate to some people because a lot of guys think their salesmen don't do anything, but I met some roof sales guys. They worked out at my gym every day, and I often went to my gym to check on things kind of in the middle of the day when it was slower. And so I was by there like a week straight in a row for some reason. And they were there every day at like 2:00. Okay. Big jacked up, nice trucks in the parking lot, young guys, early 20s. Like, what do these guys do? Right? Like, it's got to be something, right? They're not college guys. I can tell the vibes. Like, they're not frat boys. What's going on? So they told me about the roofing business, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, you can do that? Like in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to become a custom builder and I'm going to start building some homes. I'm thinking, okay, I got to, get a couple $100,000 together to do this. And they're like, no, man, I mean, like, $10,000-$15,000, you can start a company. That's crazy, right? And now I didn't start with 10 or 15,000, right? I started with a couple 100,000, but nonetheless, I could have done it without it, right? And started the roofing business, and then I won't take credit for all my success in the roofing business because it wasn't just me, right? I have a business partner, and he's great. But we essentially, within a year of starting our business, got hit with a hurricane. So
I think I remember that hurricane.
That was the hurricane, and it was a big hurricane, and it caused a lot of damage, and it caused me a lot of heartache in life because it made my life really difficult for a period of time. But it was a very profitable period of time for my living. Um, so I made a lot of money, and I had very little. I had systems, but I didn't have great systems. But they were not they they were overshadowed by just an abundance of opportunity everywhere, right? Like it, just a body in a neighborhood was signing roofs. Okay. Anybody out there listening, don't come to me and tell me you're the greatest sales rep on earth if all you do is sell after a big storm, because like anybody can do that. It's literally the easiest thing on earth. And I thought that, so that's why I say it. And then I found out that that's actually not the case. When the storm's gone, this business becomes difficult, or it becomes difficult if you don't have systems and you don't have ways to acquire business, right? And that's where we landed. And through the combination of a lot of turmoil and not giving up, I figured out ways for us to obtain work consistently, without breaking the bank or getting ripped off by every marketer that goes on Facebook and asks you if you want 10 to 15 leads a day. And fortunately, some of that, without even knowing Brad's system, was basically Brad's system. And then once I learned more about Brad's system, there was a lot of pieces of the puzzle that were missing for me. They were implemented and they work, right? And Google and Facebook and everybody else that you can place ads, absolutely you need that. You need a place to bounce from, right? That's your jump off point. But if you're utilizing the systems after, it makes acquiring leads much easier, makes your salespeople happier because they have systems in place that help them to continue to make money. They're not sitting at the office waiting on you to send them an appointment, right? They're out making their own appointments through your systems. And so it kind of, I wouldn't say passes the torch, but for you guys that have sales reps that are just always waiting on a lead or waiting on the next thing, these things that you put in your business keep that from happening.
Yeah.
I don't have guys hound me anymore about, hey, why is Google not giving us 10 leads a day? Because sometimes the Google gods, they're not raining on you, right? Sometimes they are and sometimes they aren't. And relying on that to keep your sales guys happy and keep them food on the table is really not a good way to run this business.
And it's tough. Like it really just creates turmoil for everyone in certain
Yeah.
ways because
Yeah.
they think that they just need to wait.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really learn how to hunt, but it's not that you need them to go be hunters all the time. It's
Yeah.
just you need them to know when to hunt versus when to farm. And I think that's part of like what we look at. And that's part of what I want to like really dig into today on this episode is at the end of the day, I'm not anti-marketing agency. I'm not anti-Google ads. I'm not anti-Facebook ads. I'm not anti any of it. I run Facebook ads. If people were searching roofing consultant, I would run Google ads, but that's not a super common Google
I
search.
get all your Facebook ads, by the way, all of them.
I
Every
bet
single
most
one get
uh, we
flooded with them.
we uh we put a lot out there, so
They're
I'm glad.
solid.
So the thing that I think is like really important to know though is like, look, one, all lead sources aren't the same.
Mm-mm.
Two, the types of leads that come from different lead sources can drastically change your closing rate and the metrics as your company as a whole. And two, it probably costs more money than you think to acquire a customer, at least as it stands now, if you don't have some of these other things in place. And even if you do have them in place, you still might be shocked at like what that first customer would have cost. And that's the thing that I think is misunderstood. And I get like a little bit worked up when I think about this. Like I owned a marketing agency. If you don't know, if you've got one, and I sold it And we did really well for some clients and we did really okay for others. And then we didn't do well for a few. Andrew and I actually we never crushed it for Andrew. Like there was some days of momentum, but overall, we never really crushed it for him. We were very direct with him, like, hey, like it wasn't this situation where like we promised him the world and then it didn't happen, which is why we're still friends. Otherwise, he'd probably hate me. But in general, like it wasn't amazing. And that's really just kind of the way it works. And that's the thing that sucks is like you want, understandably, assurances around your marketing. But when you tell someone else, hey, I want you to go manage this money for me and spend it on this platform that is algorithm based, that changes and tweaks and things move around all the time, and there's an update can change everything, with an unknown number of competitors also trying to spend on that. And it's based off of either how many people are searching or how many people are seeing the ad and clicking. If you're on Google, how many people are searching for your services on any given day? It does vary. If you're on Facebook, how relevant is roofing to these people who's you're targeting? Because you're not just there, you're not just competing against the other roofers on Facebook. You're competing for their attention, which so is their Aunt Sally, and
Yeah.
so is the funny reels that they all watch that we all love and send back and forth. So is this. Like, they're not going to Facebook thinking, like, I hope I get a Facebook ad for a roofing company today. So we need to understand that. And I think the biggest issue with marketing is like a lot of the time it's the blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
And admittedly, there's been times like I know the numbers well. I know the numbers of running a roofing business pretty well. I know the numbers of all the different platforms pretty well. I know the real numbers, not the just flashy ones that people want you to say. And I also know what to track, but I didn't always know it perfectly. Like an example, every lead does not equal an appointment. That sounds
Mhm.
obvious, but the word there's used synonymously so often. And that alone can create massive amounts of confusion in how you even decide on what your budget is and what this could be and what that could be. You're going to have different closing rates on different channels. That's really, really relevant to decide how much am I going to spend. And it's a lot of data that you need, but you don't necessarily know how to get. And then also, the marketer doesn't necessarily know how that data could affect you. So if they think, man, they're selling, it's at least $10,000 a roof. If I just get them one roof, then they're good. We've all
Right.
heard it. We've all like, maybe we've even thought it as an owner, which is even worse, but common.
That's the quickest way to cash flow problems.
But
I
at the
think
end
that
of the
that is
day,
the
like,
that's the epitome of it. Yeah.
one, you're not going to close them as well. Two, when you close them, you do still reinvest your marketing. So you have to think, what am I reinvesting out of this profit back into marketing again? Three, you are not usually collecting the whole check up front. Like usually you're collecting it in little chunks if it's insurance, and that could take months. And if you're collecting it retail, sometimes you get paid in full, but very few retail companies that I know of get paid in full up front. Now, more power to you if you do. I think that's great.
Well,
But
I mean, and it's all relevant. I mean, everybody operates a little differently, but you're right. I mean, something you see often in this, we can go back down to the basics, Brad. Like, I mean, I hate to say it, but I talk to more people in this industry. Like you chat with guys, right? Like you chat with a lot of people. I chat with a lot of people. And it would be surprising if I told you I think it's a 50-50 on people that say they're charging a 35% margin.
oh
They're
yeah,
actually charging a 35% markup,
it's
right?
wild.
And it's probably 50-50 of the people that don't know the difference in that. And so when you're in a market and you're assuming that everybody is of certain intellect, right? And you're competing against other people. Sometimes people are undercutting you because they're just trying to take advantage of the market or screw you. They just don't know. They
And
don't know
sometimes
that they're not making any money.
and sometimes they like that's the thing is like the marketer doesn't always know.
Yeah.
Roofing and marketing both are like notoriously low barrier to entry
Yeah.
businesses. So a lot of the time, the marketing company, maybe they're good at just generally marketing or presenting themselves or selling or whatever, but they might not even have a good grasp on like the financial cash flow and ramifications of like running a roofing business
Yeah.
and how that looks in Google versus Facebook. Like weird little shocking example. Generally, your cost per appointment will be lower on Facebook than Google. Your cost per sale potentially could be lower on Facebook even than Google, but your like lead to appointment rate, like it's all going to be jacked up. So like you're going to spend way more time and that's a cost as well. And it not every time, but like there's little things that the only reason I'm saying that part is because I think it's important to know like you have to look at the whole picture and people don't necessarily know all the things to look at like lead, cost per lead, lead to appointment ratio, closing rate per channel, cost per sale, what's my commission that I'm paying out on
Yeah.
average, what's that look like, what's like my actual like take home as a company, my real take home as a company, not net necessarily, but I like
Yeah.
your earnings I guess per job. That's something that like we need to look at because it's
Everybody
usually
wants the
really
flashy
low.
stuff though, Brad. I mean, and I'm guilty of it. Um, like I'll give you a very prime example. A very prime example of this where it's the flashy stuff, right? Like everybody wants to hire sales reps, right? Like the mindset, and I'm guilty of it, is if I just add 10 sales reps and they each do $1 million a year, I can do $10 million. Cool, right? But if you're running your business properly, you should be running ads. You should be producing leads for these guys. Okay, why are you a company if you're not trying to build a business and a reputation? If all you're doing is hiring guys and saying go out and beg people at their door for their business, like that's crazy. That's why people leave you, right? So before you go and hire all these sales reps and you spend all this money on ads, it's not even the shiny CRM, right? You need to be able to track and know what's going on within your business. The only way to do that is with numbers, right? You need to know what your cost per lead is. Okay. You need to know what your cost per appointment is. You need to know what your close rate is per sales rep. My guy, like it tells you a lot of stuff, right? If I'm looking at my numbers and I say, all right, and I'm saying this because a lot of people need to hear this, and I need to hear it again myself over and over and over again. I need to wake up every
We all do
morning to
like
an
to be
alarm that
that
says
we're
this.
not we usually aren't preaching from like some pedestal. We're preaching of like,
Yeah,
well, this
it's
is the stuff I have to look at myself
yeah,
in the
it's
mirror and
real world. Like
address.
this is
So
the
this
day
is
to day
it.
for
Like
me. But I need to look at it and say, okay, if I've got if it costs me $87 to get a phone call from Google, right? And then I, if I'm getting a phone call from Google, it's pretty much 100% appointment set, unless it's something that we don't service, right? So I would say it's like not, let's just say 98%. Okay. So my cost per appointment is probably going to be very similar to my cost per lead on Google.
with that said, your cost per that's a incredibly low cost per
It is
appointment,
an
but
incredible.
you're
And
he's
I'm
running
just
it
giving an
himself
example.
and he's in Alabama.
Yeah, well, that it does play a factor, right? Like we're in a slump market. Not everybody's even advertising right now. Even some of the big guys have pulled their ad spend just to save money because we don't have a lot of search volume, right? So it just depends on the situation. Sometimes in our market it's 250, $300. Sometimes it's 80. Sometimes it's 150. It just depends, right?
And that's the reality. Like
Yeah,
that's the other thing. Like quick note, your cost per lead changes. I don't care how
yeah,
much you wish it didn't.
yeah.
It does.
It's
The
never
only
set.
realistic sample size of what your cost per lead could be would be like over a year.
Yeah.
And that's like the thing is like, do you have a year to
It really
collect
needs
that
to be
data?
seasonal. The way I look at it is it needs to be seasonal. Like you can pretty much bet your ass that let's just say your spring cost per lead is probably going to ring similar to your spring cost per lead next year than it will your
That's fair.
winter cost per lead this year, right?
Though I don't know. I might challenge you a little
Yeah.
bit there.
Well, it's changed now in the market. We'll get into private equity in a minute. It's coming.
And also, Google, there's literally less listings.
Yeah.
Like they're prioritizing the Google business profile and GMB. There's like legitimately less spots when you search. So the point that like I want us to look at and make is like one, the best way you can understand data and try to really get clear on like what's what, like on what lead gen makes sense for you. Stop ignoring the data. Stop ignoring those things. Stop waiting on the agency to tell you what this is or what this is or what this is. Like that's not how it works. You have to be responsible for your own data. And also like the main thing that the agency needs to do is give you the ability to track that. And like they should try to track it on their own as well, but like you're the one who's going to know if this lead turned into an appointment. They're going to have trouble telling you what your lead to appointment rate is. They definitely are going to have trouble telling you what your close rate is on the channel. They're going to have trouble looking at it as a company. And so to be like to reiterate, to kind of remind you of what we do and like what our focus is, like our goal is to help you have really organized processes to turn every job into multiple. So this was, it kind of stemmed from a desperate attempt to help reduce the cost per acquisition of clients. So like people are, it wasn't a let's find an alternative to marketing. It was let's make marketing work better because it's not an either or situation. With that said, what you need to look at and think about is what are the different types of leads? What are the different types of costs associated with it? Time, money, effort, and just like stress, potential goodwill that your brand builds or potential negative impact that your brand could receive. Like for instance, like I'm not saying door knocking is a bad thing. I think honestly, it's simple. It's nice knowing, okay, well, generally if I knock 100 doors, I could get to a point like it's pretty easy to collect data on door knocking. With that said, there's
Yeah.
you also could get someone could take a picture of you on their Ring camera and post about you in the neighborhood group and say company is company is door to door, like I don't know why they come into these no soliciting areas. Like that's something that could happen and is going to happen. If you knock every day,
Yeah.
you'll probably have at least once a week someone's going to be pissed off about it. Like not just a little
Oh, yeah.
pissed, but like what seems like irrationally pissed. So the point that I'm making is simply like we need to understand the costs. And I like to look at what's linear versus kind of more non-linear. And when I say linear, I mean what's something to where we can at some point, like in a perfect world, create a for every X I put in, I get Y.
Yeah.
And this is something that is going to be surprising. The ratio between X and Y doesn't matter that much. Like you do what's required. So if you have to spend 1,500 to get a sale on Google, you can make that work. You just need to know what to do with that information. If reality is it costs you $1,500 to get a sale on Google and you're in an area where you're doing retail and so you're not doing $30,000 jobs and you're at 30% margin or 35% margin and you're doing like 12K jobs, $4,200 in like gross profit, the that's 1,500 off the 4,200.
Yeah.
Then you might have a
Commission and
salesperson. So that's
all of it.
commission. So that might be 1,200 off the 4,200. So you're like getting into like lower ranges. And then say you have a budget of 6,000 even of like ad spend, or like just total even 6,000. That would mean you're getting like four jobs. 1,500 divided by, or 6,000 divided by 50, or divided by 4 is 1,500. So whatever.
Where you're headed though is it's really simple. I mean, it doesn't really require any more explanation than what you had. That the only answer is jobs have to turn into more jobs, right? You cannot operate your business on those numbers. It can't happen. And
Even if you think it can, it can't.
yeah,
Like I
it can.
promise you, with taxes, with
Yeah.
overhead, with like
Even if you're
insurance,
making money,
all
it's not
that stuff.
enough for the liability you're taking on.
No.
Like, I think that's something that everybody just ignores in this industry is like, there's a ton of liability here, guys. Like, if you're only making that amount of money to take on this kind of liability, that's crazy. Right.
And it's usually a lot of
Um,
work too. Like that's why commissions are high, because it's like, okay, there's a lot to go into it. So yeah, you got to multiply. So that's the point, is like figure out step one in my mind is figure out how to multiply. So it's not figure out how to get Facebook ads to work. It's not figure out how to get Google ads to work. It's not any of that. It's figure out how to turn one job into multiple. Step one. That's the best way I know how, is getting the neighbors and getting referrals.
yep.
So if we can have a really organized way to make that a predictable outcome, say one job consistently turns into another and you hit some weird invisible wall even. So it's not like one job can turn into three or four, which in reality it absolutely can, as long as you keep letting things move and keep serving people at the highest level. But say we hit this invisible wall where one job always led to one more job. At that point, you just divided your cost per acquisition close to in half. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, there's maybe a little bit of extra that you might throw in there, but like you divided your cost per acquisition close to in half. That's powerful, because all of a sudden, when that's the case, and when you spent X amount of money to get Y back, but then now that result gets cut in half, and then and then reality is it can get cut in half again, and then cut in half again, and all of a sudden we have a vehicle that's just driving down our cost per acquisition, which means you're driving up your profit.
Think
And
about the intangible thing here too, Brad, like that you've got to factor here. When you get these referrals or you sell neighbors, the likelihood, and I'm not saying you go out here and rip people off. That's not what I'm saying. You may have had to fight, or your sales guy may have had to fight to get that first job off Google or Facebook because they probably called multiple people, right? Let's not act like.
yeah, of
But the
course.
next one, you might have an opportunity where, okay, maybe I had to cut my nose a little bit to get that first one on top of paying all this ad spend. This one, I don't have to do that, right? Like I can be at my full retail price, or, if you're on insurance, get the full insurance claim or whatever that may be for you and your business. But that's the key. When you get referrals, when you're getting neighbors, when you're the person in the position of, this is the roofer, this is the professional, I don't need to call anybody else. I've already heard from my neighbor how great they are. I've already heard from my friend how great they are. Already heard from my real estate agent how great they are. Guess what? Now you can command a higher price. And again, not saying that you're necessarily ripping the customer, but you're able to continue. And again, you never can think about it like that because the customer needs me to be in business for 5 years to service their warranty. They need me to be in business. Like, why do you want to give a guy $25,000 who's not going to be here next year? You don't. I can assure
It
you.
it's so
I
important.
fixed a lot of people's roof that did that. Right.
It's crazy and it's so important. Like that's the thing is like we need to be crystal clear on our costs, and that usually is money, but also it's time and effort. So like going
Yeah.
back to like door knocking, you hire a team and their entire world is just knocking doors all the time.
Yeah.
If they get really good at it, which is a big if, why would they not go start like really as an owner? Why would they
Yeah.
not? If
Uh,
they if
yeah.
their cost per acquisition is truly just other people's time and then the commission they pay out to that other person once they make money, why would they not go start their own? Like it's not that like they're not exposed to some of the
Yeah.
other costs, but like if you expose them to the other costs and they're a little smart, they might be like, "Oh, okay, this could make sense." The real thing that we want to look at is how can we create an environment where we understand that ratio, that cost to result ratio, and then know that once we know that we can spend more. There's a marketer named Dan Kennedy, big old school marketer. He's still alive, and he is like he kind of like looks like the mad scientist marketer. Like he's old, like he got he like got famous not on internet marketing but like on writing magazine ads and stuff like that. Like he was legit, like kind of like Don Drapery, except definitely not like a ladies man, I wouldn't imagine, based off of, sorry Dan, but I'm guessing you're not. The point is though, one of the things that he said that I thought was that's just really stood out to me. And Russell Brunson, if you are in the marketing world, is like the ClickFunnels guy who loves Dan Kennedy, who like he says this a lot. Whoever can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. Now, people completely misunderstand that. People think that that means that you just have kind of two options. I'm going to charge more, I'm going to charge them more, I'm going to sell them more things. So I'm going to sell them like five other things, or I'm going to just get better at closing. And those kind of people think those are my options. I can like sell them siding as well and make the project cost more. I could just charge higher margins, or I could just be a better closer and get better at sales. All none of those are bad ideas. With that said, the biggest lever you have is getting referrals. Like, let's stop looking at like a 10% bump and rather look at a 100% bump. Like, what does it look like when one job equals two jobs? And like, that's, yeah, you can spend more than your competition. You can spend more than anyone if you have a predictable way to do that. But it's not just spending money. Some of you listening might not just have as much money as you could spend on Google. Some of you have tried 10 different Google agencies, have done the whole I spent 10,000 a month thing and like increase your budget thing. I just needed to spend more. And maybe in some ways that felt like right and it still was just mismanaged or it just never ended up being what you wanted. Maybe you need to look at what the cost is in regards to what the effort is. What if you spent hours and hours knocking doors to get into a new area? And you
Yeah.
did so in a way, because once again, we have to be very careful. You did so in a way that would still leave the door open to working the neighbors. So you were not the potentially more effective, hey, your roof needs to be inspected. I'm going to jump, blah, blah, blah. But instead, you're much more like, hey, I'm just like wanted to introduce myself, like I'm in the area, and you let them come to you, which is a little harder, and you're definitely not going to have as high of a conversion rate, but it
Yeah.
does leave the door open later. What does it look like when you put that effort in? How would it be worth your while? Your life would not be fun if you had to do that every day. But if you just had 2 or 3 days where you had to put in some serious work, but behind that serious work was your next 5 or 6 jobs, starts making a little more sense.
Yeah.
What does it look like when you pursue an insurance agent? Like, and try to get them to give you referrals. You could justify kind of a lot of work. If you got
Yeah.
cash, you could justify spending a lot of money on them. Like, obviously, like the right way, not like sketchy.
Conflicts of interest there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not like under the table money,
Yeah.
but like
But
let's go to a football game money. But like in general, like we got to look at things like that and like realize like what are our costs and like when can we make it worth our while?
the
So
return on investment can be high, right?
it
Like
can
we
be
agree on.
massive. And
Yeah.
but we get to choose how high the ROI is. That's the thing. It's not your ROAS or based off how good a platform is. Like F that.
ROAS, bro. Yeah.
Return on investment
Yeah.
ROAS. You're welcome, marketers. I just got now they're like, oh, I get it now. So but your return on investment, like it has nothing to do with like how much your ROI can be on a platform. Like it matters, but really the best thing you can do is understand every metric associated with that and just figure out like, okay, how can I make sure this makes me more? If Google can get me into new neighborhoods and Facebook can get me into new neighborhoods and every job turns into multiple, then like we just figure out like where are the most effective ways to advertise. You see the biggest, most successful roofing businesses are often kind of everywhere. Like
Everywhere.
it's not because they're just like they've cracked the code on every platform, and it's also not because they just decided at a certain size like, I don't care if I make money anymore. It's because they have the ability, and they have, whether it's even intentional or kind of just by chance, they have a pretty consistent way to multiply their jobs. That cost per acquisition
Well,
is justifiable because it gets them into a new area. And when they're in a new area, they're going to do multiple jobs in that area because that's just how their business has operated. Now, we can do that earlier though, and we can do that without having to wait until we're just huge and just have this like natural way that it just kind of happened with the right team and all this like that. Don't rely on that. Those are the 1%, the 0.1% of roofing companies. And
yeah.
some of them are 0.1% because of just sheer luck. And I know that's like something that none of us want to hear. Some of them, like truly, like you'll meet the owners and it's like, you just got so lucky. You found this number two, like right when you got started, and like the guy just kind of did it all for
And
you.
just went.
And then sometimes it's not really
But I mean, it
luck.
happens in every market too.
Yeah. And
It's
sometimes it's
it's
not really luck.
markets too. I mean, markets matter.
Oh yeah. So the
Yeah.
point that like I think as you're looking at this is like one, linear marketing strategies. And when I say linear, I mean one where like there's a very discernible ratio that like will remain relatively consistent. So the ratio is like I spend or I invest this amount to get this. That would be ads a lot of the time. That would be buying leads. Like, I don't care if you hate Home Advisor and Angie's List, and I'm not saying, or Thumbtack, and I'm not really saying that you should just go all in on them. But if you go talk to the companies that are doing 20, 30, 40 million, they're like, I don't know why everyone hates Home Advisor so much. I mean, because they're not like, and
Well, they have
definitely like they're
systems. They have
sketchy.
systems in
It's just a
place.
matter of like, how do you get one of these things to work? Linear channels like that, where you can really get clear on like, okay, even if every one of every 5 leads they send me turns into an appointment, I'm closing 30 or 40% of the appointments. And that puts me in that $1,500 to $2,000 cost per acquisition. I'm doing $20,000 jobs, and I'm paying this amount of commission, and we get a lot of referrals. We do great work. We have a good brand. Like we're getting like the occasional neighbor and all that, even if like they don't have a real process for it, all of a sudden it can make sense in that case. So the point that I'm making is simply like find one of those linear channels to really, really get clear on. If you don't have money, the linear channel could be outreach. The linear channel could be door knocking. The linear channel could be a lot of different things. Now, the nonlinear marketing strategies would be like more things that could become uh-oh things that could become exponential.
Yeah.
So like an example would be if we were able to like SEO, for instance. SEO is a good example. Shout out to Dima, my favorite done do-it-yourself SEO option. I think that he's very, very good at teaching SEO, and I frankly thought there's no chance you're going to have a real business teaching people roofers SEO. No way they're going to want to do it. I was dead wrong. He's crushed it. So if you want to learn how to do it yourself, go.
Yeah.
If you want someone else to do it for you, that's okay. There's a lot of fantastic options as well. There's people like Hook Agency if you want like the premium route and like are very, very brand centric. If you want just like more volume around SEO, Adam McChesney with Builders of Authority is a great option. And there's so many good people. Ascend Agency, Roofer Marketers has some, I've heard some good things about their clients. Like there's a lot of people that have uh some of the like have it figured out.
I
With
think
that,
the key though, Brett, like the caveat to that is like all of the companies that you just mentioned though, they have ways to track. They have meetings. They go over this kind of stuff with you as a client.
yeah,
It's
none of
not,
them are, they're all consultants
yeah,
essentially.
they're not like, hey, send me your money and we'll send you some leads and good luck. That's not the way they operate, right? Like
That might be how you want them to operate. It's just not reality.
it's just not the way it should operate. Like you should be working towards some future of I've got a big enough business, in my opinion, that this needs to be in house at this point, right? Like you can't outsource everything forever. Like it's the same with labor. I mean, guys, like at some point you got to pull labor in house, right? Like that's
Start with
our
the repair tech, then
yeah.
bring like a foreman, and then like and just do it in steps,
You
sort of,
should
and
be
you can do
building a
that with
real
your marketing.
company.
Yeah.
You know, I get that I get that this industry has a low barrier to entry, and this is why, because everything can be outsourced, right? However, the if the you really should be working towards a place where it is a legitimate business. You do have W-2 employees, you do have consistency in the products you deliver, consistency in your marketing, consistency across the board. And the only way to do that is systems,
Listen to
right?
episode 1 if you really want to get like clear on the processes and the like how to think about basically, I mean, I'm going to be a little cheesy, but being built right.
Yeah.
Understand your inputs. And the best way to understand your inputs is controlling them. So that's like that would be like a non-linear.
Yeah.
Branding in general would be non-linear. Like be careful investing too much in branding early on because like roofing
Yeah.
companies it takes a lot to make a roofing company relevant to someone who's like not needing roofing, and like brand recall, which would be something that if you like really began tracking branding, you'd want to like try to track, but hard to track. That's something like companies much bigger and more advanced than any roofing company I know would know how to even do. They would be more measuring trends, but it's hard to make a roofing company relevant to people who aren't in the immediate need of roofing. So like you literally just will show up and then it'll just go right past them and there's like no remembering who you are. Now that's not to say that you shouldn't do branding. That just means you need to recognize that one, brand in the places that matter. So like find the window, the pocket of relevance, if I have a training on that, but find the pocket of relevance when you are all of a sudden like when roofing does matter to them. That's why I like working the neighbors because all of a sudden the neighbor's getting a new roof. All of a sudden roofing feels a little more relevant to them. Oh, maybe I need to get a new roof. It's a thing. So think about that. But then outside of that, you want to also look at like branding. Like there's
Well, I mean, it's look. I'll say something simple that we did that actually had a return.
yeah.
Like we gave out to all of our customers. We had little cups, like the double walled cups that we would give them after we finished their job. Cool,
Mhm.
right? That was just to say thank you, but that in turn got us referrals, right?
Sure.
100%. But then we just gave them a whole bunch of koozies that cost like 60 cents tops. I don't even think it was that much landed. We just gave them a whole bunch of koozies and said, hey, like give these to your friends and neighbors and people, you know, it's whatever. And you'd be surprised, man. Like we had people that told us, they were like, yeah, you know, my neighbor actually gave me one of y'all's koozies, you know, a year ago or last year, a couple months back or whatever. And then I had some roofing issues and you guys were the ones I called. Like,
So that stuff, like that's the type of branding that works. Like if you can give them something that they can keep, like,
Yeah.
and even that's why, as much as like I think direct mail is misunderstood as a marketing strategy, I love direct mail still. The reason is because if you catch them in a place that's relevant and you send the direct mail in a time where roofing may be relevant, where their
it's got to
neighbors
be
are
your
getting new roofs.
system, though, Brad. Like they have, not saying
Oh
your
yeah, I mean it
system,
kind
but
of has to be the way
yeah,
I teach it. But
yeah,
either way, you grab it, they can see the postcard. They might save it and not talk to you and not call you for a year. But then when they call you, they called you because they still had your postcard and you replaced Susie's roof. And they didn't want to forget the name of the roofing company that Susie used because it seemed like they were buttoned up. Like that's the type of thing that like works. And that's like the type of stuff we need to look at.
there's a lot of
Non
commercial guys that only get. I mean, just for back to the direct mail, but there's a ton of commercial guys that only get their leads from direct mail campaigns. I mean,
Mhm.
that's very common in the commercial world because you can't run Facebook ads for commercial roofing, really, and
Not well. I've seen a few
yeah,
people do well with it, but
so
generally,
it's tough. So direct mail absolutely works. But again, man, in residential, you can't just go out here and blanket hit whole cities for no reason. Like you have to have what is it called? Meaning, I guess, or whatever you would say
there has to be
behind.
intention, like a
Yeah,
very specific
it has to be
reason.
a very intentional spend. It can't be like a blanket over something.
And that's why going to another exponential, like non-linear marketing strategy or lead generating strategy, building a personal brand, like being the roofing guy, being the roofing girl. I don't care. I don't care if you're like, I don't really like to post on Facebook or something like this. Like, your business doesn't care, so why should I? Your business will thank you for it if you become the person that is known for and like now you don't have to if you don't want to, like, okay, guess
Bro,
what?
everybody's weird. Like, let's just get this
Yeah.
out of here. Like, everybody is weird.
The amount of
Okay.
friends that I have from high school, or I say friends, probably people that like I don't talk to anymore that probably like send screenshots of my Facebook stuff in like a group chat somewhere. Like I guarantee
Yeah.
that that happens. But do I care? Maybe a little bit, but not really. Like,
You
not
wake up
really.
at
Like,
2 in the
because it's like,
morning.
look, man, like, I love what I do. If the cost of me loving what I do is you who probably hates what you do, talking crap about me loving what I do, okay, like whatever. So like the point is like that's a potentially non-linear like place that I always tell people to spend some effort and spend some time. So what we just want to look at really, and like as we're kind of like wrapping up this thought, is think about one, non-linear. The function of non-linear is to be like that. The nice thing is that you can have more predictability around something that's linear. So I misspoke. But linear, you can have predictability around things that are linear. So what that means is like if the ratio is 1 to 5 and you know that for every dollar you get in, you get $5 out, or even for every dollar you get in, you get $2 out. And like you can begin to track that and begin to like know, this is pretty relatively consistent, or like it's within this range pretty much always, which is usually how like it's actually going to work. The other one's just Excel math. Reality is a range. As you
Yeah.
do that, like that's where you're going to be able to look at like, okay, I can invest this cost, whether money, time, effort, potential, like reputation, like eh, I can invest that because it will generate me this, and then I will turn this into this. That's the advantage of the linear stuff. It actually is like a really clear lever. That's why I like Facebook ads for me. So like I've had a few people be like, aren't isn't like running Facebook ads kind of against like what you teach? I'm like, no. Like
Yeah.
that's it's not. I know I understand why you would think that. And admittedly, I've had to like kind of think through it a little bit. But no, I run hella Facebook ads. The reason I do is because at the end of the day, I get referrals too. It builds my
Or
brand.
is that your budget? Is that when it asks you for your budget, you just type hella?
Oh yeah.
Hella. Okay. But no,
uh,
it really, Facebook absolutely works in your context. Like when you say, all right, I'm going to send mailers to every house within a mile. I'm going to put Facebook ads to, look, you want to take it a step further? Sales guy makes a video at the house that you're going to do at some point in the future, right? Within a week or whatever you're going to do. And you run an ad with that video to on a mile radius of that house, and you send out flyers with his picture and information on it. I mean, you want to talk about like setting somebody up for success? That's the kind of stuff
that
that
makes them not want to leave.
they never want to leave when you do stuff like that. Like guys, y'all complain all the time. The whole industry complains about sales guys coming and going and this and that and the other. You want to keep sales guys freaking have their back every day, right? Like go out here and do the stuff that makes their job successful. Like
Exactly. And
it's not
also look
about
at it
any.
as protecting your investment as well. Like that's the funny thing is like look at this as in protecting the investment and the time that you put into this person to make sure that they want to keep working for you. Like you're not that special.
Yeah.
There's
What's the
100
saying?
roofing companies that they could go work for, or
Yeah.
they could start their own. Make yourself sticky. They don't
What if
deserve
I
like,
train them and they leave? Well, what if
yeah.
you don't and they stay? Like these leads are expensive, man. If you don't train guys, if you don't set them up for success, they're not out wasting your money. You're out wasting your money. You're sending them out to waste your money. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? I mean, and that's the thing is like at some
And that's
point
like
you've
the
got to
cost.
realize,
Like a 20% close rate versus a 30% close rate
yeah,
is a 50% difference in someone's effectiveness.
yeah,
Like that's crazy if you think about it. But like if you send the 20% closer on a lead versus a 30% closer, it's not that the 20% closer is going to close one more than the other. It's that they're going to close the 30% closer is going to close 50% more than the 20% closer is closing. Like that's the kind like you need to look at that stuff and understand those numbers. In
if you don't
regards,
have the numbers, you don't know that though,
yeah, and in
right? Like that's
regards
your problem.
to like how you're looking at investing and the cost and all that, just make sure that like when you do put that amount of effort in, that it is a means to an end of some sort. Not to say that you should stop, but you want to get referrals, you want to get build the business, you want to build the brand, like you want to create entry points. For me, I have my ads and the amount of people whose names I know that book from my ad is wild. So what does that mean? That means and I the amount of people it's like, "Oh yes, they came from a Facebook ad just yesterday." Someone was like, "Yep, you were referred by Dale." And I was like, "Wait, you came through a Facebook ad?" And they're like, yeah, I mean, I like he mentioned you like a few weeks ago, and then I ended up booking when I saw an ad pop across. Like, that's how it
Yeah.
works. Like, it's not so simple.
Contrary to popular belief, too, though, like everybody, like all the people that you see, and I'm guilty of it, that are constantly in the Facebook groups for roofers, the same people over and over and over again. That's not all that the roofing industry has. Like, there's a ton of people that have Facebook that don't get in those groups, right? So they may not know, like you, Brad, or and I say this because it relates to our retail setting, right? Like, not everybody's in the what's happening in my city group, right? Like, even if you have people that are posting your name in those groups, there's a lot of people that aren't involved in that. Like, my dad would
Or
be one
that
of
just
the
like barely would even look at that
dudes.
anyways. Like, so the point that as we're wrapping this up, I encourage you guys to look up what a sales and marketing flywheel is. This is kind of your homework from the podcast. Please do that and do some research on it. It essentially just means you're turning every job, like you're creating entry points for every job, and you're creating letting them come and enter in at will. As you're looking at how you're growing and how you're investing in leads, understand like it's a good thing when you can find a ratio of like, well, for every dollar I spend, I get $1.50 out. Even if that is a small little bit, that actually can give you you can give yourself the margin through action to make that work. And that doesn't mean it's a bad channel. That means there's work that needs to be done. It is never going to be as simple as pay $1, get $2 or get $10 back. That sounds nice, but it's just not that easy. The way that it really works is you need to make sure that you're known and that you're really, really making it easy for them to enter into your sales process, enter into your ecosystem of some sort. And then once they do, you need to make it really easy for them to do business with you. Once that's in place, it doesn't matter. All the channels are serving the same purpose. You want to still track what's my cost per acquisition tended to get it off the ground, and you want to make sure it doesn't start breaking. But your company cost per acquisition, your company closing rate is the most important thing. That's where, like, you're at the end of the day, it's not how profitable can I be from Google ads, it's how profitable can I be. Google ads can be a way to become more profitable, even if as a platform and as an individual channel in a silo, you could lose money on it, but it could still be a huge profit source for your business because it's an entry point that creates multiple jobs for you. But the only way to operate like that and to work like that is to actually know your stuff and know your numbers. So make sure that you're tracking your data, make sure that when you are thinking about a lead generation decision that you're looking at, is this linear or is this non-linear? If it's non-linear, that means it's like exponential. So you might spend $2,000 a month on SEO, and month 12, you might be getting 20 leads a month, and month 1, you might be getting 0 leads a month, but you're still spending 2,000 a month. Branding is like effort. I'm putting in this effort, but it's going to compound and stack and stack and stack. And then also know and remind yourself you have activities that you can do. And it doesn't have to just be door knocking that will stack. Like, you can do these individual activities that will allow you to create that stacking. What you want to do is take a linear strategy and turn it nonlinear by adding in the neighborhood marketing referral process and being able to turn one job into multiple. That way, you're manufacturing that exponential growth curve rather than just like relying on time for it, which is what most of the other ones will make you, well, you'll have to do. So this is taking the bulls by the horn and actually knowing how to speed things up. And that's what we want to help you do is like, one, be built right, get organized, make sure you have everything in place, make sure that you're operating well, but also help you speed up time and skip a lot of the mistakes that it would take to get there. So go ahead and like think through what does this look like for you, and catch us on the next episode. Uh, Go to our website, bgb-enterprises.com, if you would like to check any free resources we have, join our free school group, book a call. It's all going to be there. that's our entry point. And then Andrew, anything that you want to add in as we're wrapping it up?
Well, I appreciate you for inventing the flywheel. It's been
I
very
didn't
beneficial.
invent it, but I did some good, I put up some good ideas and good strategies to help you implement.
The flywheel is great, right? I mean, it's look,
Jim Collins invented the
look,
concept.
join the resource. Okay. Definitely join the group because the free resources are absolutely fantastic. You give away too much for free, honestly, Brad.
Get told that
That's
often. It only
well,
motivates me to
that's
give
coming
away
from
more.
somebody that spends money with you now. But you know, when they were free resources and they were free to me, they were very beneficial. So anybody that's watching this, definitely take the time to do that. It's worth it. I promise. Brad's systems absolutely work. And a lot of it's not anything crazy, right? Like it, if you're looking to make more money, if you're looking to have better retention of salespeople, my God, I hear that all the time, right? Like if you want better retention, implement stuff like this within your business because your sales guys won't want to leave you. They'll be making good money, right? And guess what happens when sales guys they go and tell people they know, quality people they know, hey,
That's
come
the
join the
best
team.
recruiting you can do is when your
Yeah,
sales rep is crushing it and they have other friends that want to crush it too.
yeah. They're like, you guys are in a you guys are doing 6 roofs in this one neighborhood, and there's not like they're gonna think there's insurance claims. Like other roofing companies are gonna think there's insurance claims. Like there must have been a storm or something in that neighborhood. No, they're all retail.
And then they're going to look like idiots when they try
Yeah.
to call an adjuster out.
Yeah. It's like they're all retail, they're all finance, right? Or whatever you utilize, but they're all from this system. You know, and then again, those sales reps are going to want to know what do these guys know that nobody else does? Like, well, how are they doing this? You know? So
So there you go. So guys, thank you for being here. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you're following the show if you're on the other platforms. Check out our website. Keep listening. We want to make sure that we're always giving more than we take. Even if you pay us, we want to make sure that it's way more. But I also respect your time, and you just spent a good amount of time here. So if there's a way that you can think of us giving you a better ROI on your time, I'm open to it. We want to make sure that you're able to always be multiplying the results and what you invest with us. We want that to give you returns in every capacity. So thank you. I appreciate y'all, and we'll see you next week. See ya.